Who is to blame? I mean, who is to blame and do to them?
Um, that is a great question, and it's for me, it's a double-sided question. It's a double-sided answer. But the first answer is the man is to blame. And the reason why I say the man is to blame is because more often than not, women will bend or will women will succumb to a man's expectations. So where you see, we were talking outside, and you were like, a couple of years ago, I wasn't the type of guy to open the door, and I was like, we just gonna be standing there both looking at the door. That's how I would do every man that I was in his presence. I'm not gonna open this door unless I was at work or something and rushing, and it was a man, and it was even. If I made it before him, I'm getting in the door and getting out. But if I'm not, if it wasn't a thing where I had to get in there and I was on a time frame, I'm going to make the man open the door. Well, a lot of that chivalry, a lot of that stuff has gone by the wayside. Why has it gone by the wayside? Because the good men, I won't even say the good men did not teach, but the good men were not plentiful enough to teach, the younger men what men are to do, how men are to treat women. And so the guys were growing up, and they're growing up under women. And a lot of times, when I notice this as a mother, you can demand that your sons do certain things, but your sons might, if they don't have dad saying, yeah, mom's right, they're going to be like, oh, she was just this, that, and the other, because these girls don't require that. And so the men fall into that. And so I will say it definitely began with the men. The men have to take responsibility for the culture of the mistreatment. Now, the continuation is on us women, because we are the generation of self-love and, girl power and all this and all that. And so we have began to think that we can do it all so much that we won't let a man be a man. And unfortunately, like I walk through doors with women all the time, and they'll snatch the door, and it's a bunch of men. I'm like, hey, we not at work. Let them get their door. Oh, girl, I'm a woman. I barbecue. I do this. I do that. I can grab my. No. You let him be a man. That's what men do. You let him grab that door for you. And so the continuation of it is on the women. But the beginning of it, that was on the men. And it's still to this day. The young men who don't know, there are young men who my sons hang out with, who I make them open doors for me. If we go order something, I go sit down at the table, I have them bring it to me. I say, you always respect your elders. There's simple things like that the elders shouldn't have to go get up and get the stuff. Just simple things. But that is on the man. That's on the dad. That's on the community of men that did not teach the man. But the continuation and the actual taking away the man's, purpose, that's on us women.
Well, and we'll get into that one before we finish. But like the next question is, who is being the role model, or who is being the standard for our younger women? When I go back, I want to sit back and I'll give a shout out to my Aunt Lynn. When we were growing up, my Aunt Lynn, we looked up to her so much because she was always so clean. We would see how she was getting ready for her date on Friday, or to go out with her girlfriends. And when we were young, the women that were coming through the doors of our household, we didn't see their skin. We didn't see tattoos all over their body. We didn't see them smoking blunts, drinking and acting crazy. These younger girls that have these aunts, they're supposed to do their hair, teach them how to act. Even though the younger girls may be looking at TV, the conversations that the women are having in front of the babies, which was, oh, girl, I got my hair done, and we went out to the club the other night, and I know I seen Warren out there with his old hating self. He was a little icy and looking good, and I know I was all dipped and everything, and I wasn't worried about him. And my boy gonna tell me to come to his house. We gonna whatever. And then it's also too the things that these younger ones are seeing. Now we look up, and you got a daughter that's a cousin, a daughter, niece, or whatever it might be, 15 or 16 years old, and she's pregnant. And where the pregnancies now have just become accepted, because back when I was growing up, if a girl got pregnant, boy, you see her at school on the bus crying, like, damn, what's wrong? I gotta go tell my mama. Boy, and you knew that was a big. But now, why is it so easy? And this is.
And you just basically told it. Here's the thing. We have to remember that a lot of women. My daughter is 25. I had my daughter when I was 17, and I was on my own with my own apartment and afraid to tell my mother that I was pregnant. You know, I was on my own, had my own place, worked 2 jobs and went to school, doing good, making good grades. And I was terrified to tell my mother. I was grown, but I was still terrified because I was pregnant out of wedlock. But the one thing that I noticed is, yes, we had the aunts and we had the moms that would jump clean. My mom actually sang as part of Kevin Mahogany's band. So, and my mom was a couture seamstress. So I would watch my mom get ready to go sing, and she would leave dripping in diamonds and shimmy dresses, and I mean just some stuff off of Billie Holiday and Motown. That's how she looked when she went to go sing. And so then, as we got older, the 90s women, I blame us 90s teenage girls and early 20s, because the culture changed. It then became instead of being mom, well, I'm going to live my life. I'm going to drop the kids off with grandma. I'm going to chase this dude. I want this dude that got these rims, this, that, and the other. Like I told you, I wasn't that chick. I wanted the one that was going to college so he could get me out of trouble. But it became that. And because the mothers became more lax in how they were around their children, you now have those same women who were girls back then, who are now women who are in their, late 30s, early 40s, who have not grown out of that childish mindset.
And see, where I want to come in at is because, we live in a world today, what's right is wrong and what's wrong is right.
Yeah.
There's so many areas that we can go down that avenue, but it's when you go back, and like I said, the women that we looked up to, aunties, I mean, everything was clean. Shirts and stuff was tucked in. I mean, my thing of it is like me and my mama had a conversation a couple weeks ago about one of my nieces and the shorts being too short. And my mama like, no, you're not going out of this house with those shorts on. Because at the end of the day, when these younger girls are looking up to, what do we say, these ratchet, or what's the modern term everybody used to want to use now, these ghetto aunties and whatever, when they see you dress like that, they're gonna dress like that. But here's my thing. When the young girls are out there like that, they're basically letting the men know, holler at me, I'm out here.
But this is what I'm gonna say, and a lot of people are gonna get mad at me, but my great grandmother took pictures in a halter top and short shorts. Now, this is a woman who, I mean, she achieved things that most women nowadays wish they could achieve before she was 35 and 36. And she took pictures in a halter top and short shorts. She walked around with her beautiful glasses back in the 30s, back in the 20s with her. She was born in 1904, and she was the stuff up and down 24th and Vine. It's not what you wear, it's how you carry yourself and what you wear. We have pictures of my mom in hot pants with a tie in the front, shirt that's looks like a Oxford button down the front shirt, and it tied in the front, and she had on hot pants. And hot pants, anyone who knows anything about the 60s, hot pants were some of the shortest shorts that you could wear.
Is that James Brown? Was James Brown saying
hot pants? Yes. My mother wore hot pants. You get what I'm saying? She was small enough that she could walk around showing her skin. And so, but it's not about what you wear. It's about the image that you project when you wear it. A lot of people don't understand that. I have mad respect for my daughter. My daughter's a teacher. My daughter's Ivy League. I tell people I'm the only Black Ivy League mama I know. This young girl is Ivy League, going to get her master's in an Ivy League school, and she's got, I lost count at 6 on her tabs. You get what I'm saying? Think about it. Stacey Shaw, one of the most amazing, classy women you'll ever meet, got a tat of her mother going across her collarbone. She was out there and she had her t-shirt. We always cut our t-shirts real cute, and it was showing skin. So it's not about what you wear. It's all about the projection of yourself. How do you project yourself in the clothes you wear? Because I've seen girls that have been covered from head to toe. I promise to God, there were 2 Muslim girls who my daughter used to bring to my house from college. They used to come visit. And these were some of the wildest chicks you ever want to meet, covered from head to toe. And I had to call them out on it. So it's not about what you wear. It's about how you project yourself. How are you being, what are you projecting? Now, yes, you said that that the women behaved in a certain way and they carried themselves a certain way. They cleaned them. They were groomed a certain way. But also that was taught in school. My mother said that they all learned from this lady. I think Miss Elise, if anyone who's listening remembers, there was a grooming lady, a lady who went around to high schools and she taught etiquette and beauty and grooming to the girls.
But see, it was also because the teachers were just a stepping stone from the people that we had at home.
Absolutely.
Our teachers loved us so much and really cared about learning, how important learning was, how important for you to understand of how Black that you
Absolutely.
are. The teachers weren't just, they weren't out of touch with what is going on today. You see what I'm saying?
Right. And this is what I always tell people. People always ask me, they always try to get me to pinpoint why my kids are the way they are, because my kids are very confident, they're very intelligent, they have and a lot of people are like, how did you get them like that? Well, I did with them what was done with me. I taught them who they were.
Exactly.
Number one, I taught them Black is beautiful and Black pride is not white hate. You take pride in yourself. You take pride in your skin. My sons are natural. When everybody else was yelling, you need to make them cut their hair, I'm like, no, that's how it grows out of their scalp. So when you go back to looking, a lot of what we're seeing, and that's one of the things that I tell my sons all the time, and a lot of people think I'm wrong for it. I'm like, if you're going to date a girl, make sure that your first date, she wears no weave and no makeup.
And see, another thing I want to touch on that. And I find it hard for a lot of women, not all women, I'm not going to say all women, but the majority of the women can sit up in the break rooms at work, at the beauty shops, and they have those where every man or every N ain't S today.
Oh,
that's what type. But here's my thing. When you look in the mirror, you Black with blonde hair, red hair, orange hair, fake fingernails, fake eyelashes, injections in certain parts of your body, and you keeping it real. Because society has made you not even like who you are no more.
Like who you are. And here's the problem. And this is what I always say when I hear women say, I want a real man. and this is one thing, this is what I believe. You cannot accept a real man until you can accept yourself real as you are. Because a real man, for real, a real man ain't gonna want you if you ain't gonna love yourself.
There you go.
And I tell people, and I had a friend who was like, you talk all that stuff, and let's see you just wake up and put you a video on YouTube straight out the bed. I told her, I said, chick, I don't have no problem because I look exactly the same when I wake up. What he sees what he sees right now, that's what he's gonna see waking up. So, and I did. I woke up out of my sleep with crust in my eyes, hair matted. All I did was pull it out on camera and wipe the crust out of my eyes. This is what you get. So, but we as women, that's why I said the men are kind of responsible for this, because the women are only going to do what the men say is appealing. So the whole mindset of wearing weave became this whole, I remember, and I was talking to a man about this, and we both were blown away because we were both standing in the store, and you could see this girl's tracks at the top of her head. And he looked at me, he said, I remember when It used to be embarrassing for
That
people
was
to know.
embarrassing.
Yeah, they
It
made
was.
a song. It's your hair isn't a weave.
But see, but then when you go back to understand why so much of the weave is out, is because when society made us hate who we are,
Hate who you
everybody went through the curl stage.
Right, right.
And the curls were too powerful and it destroyed your hair so that your hair can't even regenerate
Right.
and grow. And so now you got so many people that are putting all these chemicals and
But the hair weave was brought on by the women who had heads full of hair from it being natural and having curls.
well, yeah.
Then they were transitioned into your hair, that curly hair ain't good enough.
There you
Even
go.
though the white women were still getting perms to have their hair look like ours, they were telling us that the curls were not good enough because it was still too ethnic. We had to relax. And so then when we began to relax, what happens when you relax your hair with home kits and you don't do your treatments and your conditioning? Your hair falls out. So then you don't have this long hair anymore. So then you're compensating this long hair with hundreds of dollars in extensions. Because I tell people, my mother was getting braided and micro braids way back in the early 80s. And whereas people are paying $100-something for people to rip their hair out now with those braids, my mother was paying $300 and $400, and that wasn't counting the hair.
Well, like my little sister and them, they were getting back in the days of the beads.
Right.
Everybody
right.
had the beads. You had your real hair, beads.
But it's coming back. But unfortunately, the Black woman's image to ourselves. I've had so many women say, when you gonna color your gray? And I colored my gray. I did it last year and I hated it. And everybody's like, you look so young. Why are you wearing that gray hair? You shouldn't wear it. So I colored it. And I still have the tips that's still colored. But I hated it because I was like, that's not me. I waited my whole life. My last name is Gray. I had gray hair growing up. I waited my whole life to be able to say I'm old.
Well, our aunties and our grandmas and stuff that had the gray hair were so beautiful.
Elegant.
And we also knew that a wisdom came with being able to make it to your gray hair stage.
Absolutely.
That
and
was
it's elegance, but that and we're addressing the problem with relationships without knowing that we're addressing the problem. The problem is the women, we as women, and I say we because before I went through my phase of getting sober, we as women do not love and accept ourselves enough to where when a man does come and he accepts you and loves you for who you are, you question his motives.
And see, hold on. And I'm going to ask you, brings me back to another story. It seems to me, why do the women fight and go to hell and back for a dude that they know he don't know and he been showing them that he don't care about them? The good dude comes into the life and she knows at the time that she's been with him, he's good. He's been better to me than almost anybody else has ever been. She can be packing her stuff up and crying while she's leaving, saying, you've really been good to me, and walking out at the same. I mean, why is it so easy to leave the good one and you fight for the what we said?
First off,
not the upgrade.
First off, that's unequally yoked. And that's the first thing. And someone brought it up on the show last week about being equally yoked, and I wanted to address that. Equally yoked was a biblical term where they put the yokes on the oxen, and the oxen had to, the two strongest ones were at the front, and they had to be equally strong, equally as intelligent, and equally have the endurance in order to wear that yoke. One could not be weak and the other strong. And so when men say, and when women say, why is it that the good men, I'm a good woman, but the good men want this, is it? Because people are looking for someone who they are not equally yoked with. And that's the reason why the relationships don't go. Because I always tell people this, I have to be equally yoked with someone. He has to have that spirit center. It has to be God, Jesus, him, me, and our children. And I say our children because it needs to be, we look at each other's children as ours. Mm-hmm. We're going to go hard for everybody's children. And the reason why you put Jesus in between there, because Jesus is the word. The man cannot govern himself if he does not know the word. So how are you going to lead me? I want to see the God in you. Show me the God in you. But when you're unequally yoked, when someone is stronger than someone else, or someone is more centered, that one ox is going to be pulling while this other one is back here doing whatever, and it's just going to throw the whole thing off. It's not going to work.
And it's it's so true that you said that, because my pastor's wife at the time and my pastor, give a shout out to Sister Gwen and Brother Johnny Fields, taught me so much. And she told me that she basically told her husband that if you're not in church with me this Sunday and doing what I'm doing and moving the way me and my family are moving, then it's a done deal.
Absolutely.
And so he loved her so much that he went to church. But what she even said is that when he went to church, God and the Spirit touched him, that he just started growing.
Yeah.
And she said, if I didn't get off into studies and do what I needed to do, he was leaving me mentally. And so the thing of it is because, and that's the truth. And as me and my brother was talking today, sometimes, and I just always really want to keep it 100. Have I always been perfect? No. Never had the blueprint to really do exactly the right way. Didn't have a father, didn't know you supposed to open the doors. If I would have had my kids at a younger age, I probably would have been no better than my pops.
Right.
But because my journey took me a different way, and I was able to come in tune with somebody that gave me some information and gave me some knowledge, that helped me have knowledge itself, then it was easy for me to be a father, to be able to give the names to my sons and all this type of stuff. But I think us as men, if we knew better, we would do better. And the thing of it is a lot of times these women are getting into relationships because they feel that they can change the man. That's another thing. And why is it that a woman actually thinks that she's able to change a man? And the condition that you in yourself through relationships. A lot of women kill me too, is when they get their counsel, your counsel is from anybody that you get information from. Your friends, your sister, your mama, your auntie, whatever. And if the people that you get your counsel from are in worse shape than you, what can they tell you?
Here's the thing. I'm going to address the first question that you wrote. I'm sorry. Why do women think that they can change a man? It's that old school mindset of, oh, you got to train them. I don't know how many times I've heard a woman say, you got to train them. You got to train them. A grown man cannot be trained. Literally, women, if y'all are listening, I'm going to turn to the camera so y'all can hear me. I raised 5 sons. A grown man's mentality is set by the time he's 13 years old. You ready to kill him. And he's not going to change. Now, he will grow under the positive influence of a man. He will definitely grow. But who he is set when he's 13. I have a 13-year-old right now. I'm on my 5th son that I've raised, and he's 13. And I'm like, I'm not wrong. I know I wasn't wrong. I kept saying they turn 13 and then they become who they are at 13. They just mature and they expand on that. And I have a son that I raised that was 13, and he'll be 22 this year on August. I have a son that was 13 and he's now 20, and they are still the same. I have a son that was 13, he's 17. One that was 13, he's 15. And now I have a 13-year-old, and they're the same person that they were. So regardless, women tend to think that we can change a man because you can train him. I've heard that. So, girl, you got to train him to do this, that, and the other. That ain't your child. And he ain't no puppy. This is a grown man. And if you as a woman has to train him, that's not the man for you, because he's not coming to his manhood yet. You need to let God finish his work in this man. And that's another thing that women think that they can change the man, because they see the man's potential. They see what's in him, but they won't let God finish it. We as women become too anxious. He's going to be, that's my man. And so they'll accept the man the way he is before God is done with him. That's what causes a lot of problems. I tell a lot of people, in ancient African civilization, they did not allow men to marry until they were 33 years old. Why is that? Because they said the man was not fully matured until he was 33. When I look at all the 33-year-old men that I know, 32 and 33 is where they start saying, oh, no, I want a wife. It's time for me to settle down. It's time for me to do this, that, and the other. When they get to 30, and I'm like, whoa, they knew something that we did not know.
Well, I mean, and that's for some of our shows in the future. And that's because they were in a strong sense of their spirituality.
Right,
You see what I'm
right.
saying? And it's just another thing. Like, I understand that there are certain foods mentally that us black men need to have.
Right.
And it's not to veer away from the church, but I'm telling you right now, when you look at the state of our men need a true infusion. And what I mean is it's a little bit past the books of reading Daniels and Acts and Jeremiah and all that. The church guy, or the leader of the church guy, he's as sweet as I don't understand, swinging the tambourine, and we don't need that. Right now, we are in a state. This is the worst that it has ever been for us, us men, and you have to have knowledge of self. Once you grab knowledge of self, then you're able to elevate yourself and start to take on several different entities of where you may be able to want to worship, because it's all about being in tune with your spirit, with your spirituality, your spirituality. Yeah, I can't
And
say the word,
so
but
you're absolutely right. But this is what I tell people. If people really did read the Bible, you said what Jesus said. He told people, he said, and the story of King Solomon, King Saul, that's the story that God was saying, because you didn't want to listen when I was telling you who you were, now I got to send him. And y'all don't like how he's ruling y'all. And then Jesus said, if you'd have listened when I told you that you were God's, God the Father told you that you were God, but you refused to listen, so now he had to send me to tell you. And so people think pushing away the holy books, and I'm gonna warn y'all, I'm sorry for this one, but I'm one of those women. I've read the Bible like over 20 times. My great grandmother was the one who brought Comedicism or metaphysics over here to the U.S., but she was a strict Christian. So the way I believe in Christianity, it does not match with everything everybody else believes, only because I know the truth.
yeah.
And so when people start saying, oh, you got to push away the Bible, no, you actually have to read the words of Jesus, because he told you that the power is in you. He told you, why are you looking around for the kingdom of heaven when it's in you? He told you, greater works than I did will you be able to do. So if you finally can believe what he said about you, if you can believe that he said, because you did not believe God, God had to send me, that will empower you. That, and a lot of people ask me about my sons. They're like, how did you raise such strong sons? Because they grew up under my teaching. They didn't just grow up. Yeah, we went to church and they learned from church. But no, I'm going to teach you what this means. I'm going to teach you how to interpret every single thing that he says.
But you also have to understand the infusion that you got when you were young came from the type of women in the home that these children are never going to get to see.
But let's not say never.
Well,
let's say
right now they're not seeing it.
Let's say this. Let's say, why don't we create something where the kids can come and eat and talk to us? Because I tell people, you hear me talk about my great grandmother, but I was a kid that starting at 9 or 10, I was always by myself. My uncle came and got me out of basically an abandoned house when I was going on 13.
We gotta get to a break.
Okay.
I just want to say, old school family, hold on. It's that time of the show where we are halfway through and we have to have a quick commercial break, but stay with us and make sure you call in if you have anything that you want to contribute to the conversation. Area code 816-599-6893. Yes. Ooh. Run. Don't.
What's that?
Smoke. Ooh.
Are you liking that?
Old school. We back. We back. It's halfway stretch before we make it home. So we just gonna finish up what we were saying just beside before the break. But also, like I was saying, the foundation of what we had. And first of all, I'm not gonna say that it's an excuse. Uh, I don't even know if I want to be able to play the blame game. But when you look at the platform that we come out on as black males, we already struggle. It's a struggle because here's the thing. If and I should know the lyrics when Tupac said, all my white friends are at home in bed. We sit back and the things that we have seen from 5 to 13, when the children in the class wants to tell your parents, I don't know why it's so hard for him to focus. Well, the reason it's hard for me to focus is because in the 13 years that I've been living, my eyes, my shoulders have burdened more weight and seen more pain than you've ever seen since you've been living. And what I mean by that is to come home and say, hey, mama, this was on the door and it's an eviction notice. Now I'm growing up and at 11 years old and going to school, I can't focus on schoolwork because I'm thinking we getting ready to get evicted. Got an uncle and auntie I've been seeing for years. Love my uncle. But because him and his auntie have gotten into an argument, then the elders of my house want to say, clean up the extra room, ain't such and such is coming to stay. Well, now when they get there and we don't know both sides of the story, we're going off of what ain't such and such says, but the home environment has made us turn on the uncle. So when he knocks on the door, we see him out in public and he's like, hey, what's up, boy? You can't speak to your uncle? No, mom and them told me not to. I mean, these are all the things that we are put on. To come home from school at 3:30, you're hungry, you got out of your house, you got and SOS pads burned up, everything in the house smells like crack. Your mama is either at work or she's gone. Nobody's gonna be there from 3:30 to 11 o'clock. You either eating hot dogs without no bun, you go hang with your boy. They might be a little bit more advanced than what you are, but they getting money. So you start to hang with them. I mean, the burdens and everything that we carry on our shoulders from the time that we hit the platform, it's a struggle. And it's even a struggle when we finally get to a point to where we start dating. Because I mean, everybody's irresponsible. But if you get out to the club and you meet this chick and next thing you know, y'all go home, do what you got to do, then you have the kids. Well, her structure might be just a little bit better than yours, maybe. But because you have that baby boy mentality, even P and baby boy snapped. And remember what I said earlier about our counsel? When he said, Jody, I don't know. I need something to do because I'm on the verge of just getting ready to lose and then kill. But Jody couldn't give him no information because Jody was making a transformation. You see what I'm saying? And luckily, Jody's mother didn't intervene. And it's a very crucial thing I'm getting ready to say here. A lot of these women today are their children's friends. And as long as the stepdaddy is buying the Christmas presents, the birthday presents, helping with the school shopping and the grocery and all these type of things, he's daddy. But the first time that he tells the woman, man, you gonna just let him talk to you like that? Oh, that's my son. I don't need nobody telling me. And so then when you don't want to be there because man, why don't you just go upside and put, he don't need to be in no corner. He don't need to be no timeout. So my thing of it is this, and I'm just basically say like my pastor would back in the days. Now these women are raising punks.
And I have a saying that, about the way the women are raising their sons, because I raised 5 sons. I raised men. I tell people I don't cut no shorts with my sons. As soon as they started walking, I'm like, oh, dude, you walking? Okay, first off, and I used to have these purses back in the day that were backpacks back in the 90s. And so people don't realize this, where you see the little kids carrying the backpacks. I started that. My son started walking, and he started walking in like 9, 10 months. Guess what? You carrying your own wipes, your own diapers, because you a man. By the time he was a little over a year and a half, he was carrying a gallon of milk in the house. I'm not going to play this because you have to be a man. But this is what I'm going to say. And I always have this saying that the women nowadays are raising young men that are soft as pissed on toilet paper. Because unfortunately, everybody wants to be their child's friend. Me and my 17-year-old, we were going rounds until my son, my 20-year-old, what I thought came up missing, but he went off on his own. But we were going rounds, and one day he told me, he looked at me, he said, guess what, mama? He said, you are so all controlling, and you don't give me an inch. I can't wait till I leave here because I ain't never coming back. And he paused when I told him, good. That's the point. I said, you are never welcome back in my house after freshman year in college. Either you going to get out there and you going to sink or you going to swim. But mama ain't going to save you.
And see the thing.
And let me finish. But unfortunately, I told someone, I said that, oh, girl, I could never leave my son out there. I said, and you know what? Because you could never leave your son out there, your son will never fully mature as a man. My oldest son, when he came back from AIT, and he and I had went rounds, and he came back from AIT. He was like, you won't let me live with you. I sure will not. You better figure it out. And guess what he did? He figured it out. He's over in South Korea doing excellent, getting ready to go over to Italy. He figured it out. He was in the military. My 20-year-old, he left at 18. I have not had to worry about him. He hasn't asked me for a dime. He's been taking care of himself. But that is because I know that I have to send men out into the world. I wanted to address something that you said, the pillars and the foundations of what we had. This is one thing that I think our generation does not realize. Those pillars and those foundations were younger than us. They were in their 30s. What are we doing? We're still looking back on our hurt. We have not matured enough to ourselves to say, and what happened with me was, I lived the life of a young black male. Uh-oh, the audio. Okay, is it good? But I lived the life of a young black male, but I was a female. And in that, it scared me as I was raising a daughter. It terrified me. And I told myself I was not going to let my daughter go through it. But then I refused to let any other kid who came anywhere in my presence go through it. Because I knew the desperation that I had to be able to have a certain life. I realized one day I was reading Malcolm X's biography. And then it took me over into reading about Medgar Evers. And then I went back and read about Martin Luther King again. Mm-hmm. And then I was reading about W.E.B. Du Bois. These people were younger than us. Mm-hmm. And they were community leaders.
Well, but you have to realize that every corner at that time that you turned, either you were a follower of Martin, mm-hmm. or you would have been a follower of Malcolm. Me, I'm more of a warrior. Mm-hmm. I'm going to follow Malcolm. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I believe like this, and a lot of women must understand, is when you sugarcoat and you handicap these boys, mm-hmm. because if you can't lay in your bed,
that's with their confidence.
If you can't lay in your bed and hear me in the room whooping this boy, trying to save him from what's going to happen outside our doors, because outside our doors, they don't play. Mm-hmm. The police are going to kill him. You're going to have to go visit him and pick him up in jail. Mm-hmm. So if you can't stand me doing what I'm supposed to be doing at home, then how do you think it's going to happen the first time he gets off into that situation and he's blowing up your phone? Mama, come get me. Mama, did you talk to the lawyer yet? Did you go pay the bond and the bail? And see these same parents rush and feel that I have to break my neck to go get this boy up out of jail. When back one thing with our pillars and foundations, they taught us what tough love is. Mm-hmm. They taught us tough love. They basically even gave us instructions. You got one time to go to jail.
Right.
After that one time, it's a wrap.
Yeah, and that's true.
If you think that you too grown to do what I have to do in this house, you can leave, and you welcome to come eat dinner on Sundays. But that's it.
And that was the reason why I was out at 17, because my mom was like, When you grown, you two grown women can't live in the same house. You know, we were taught that two grown folk can't live. So when you so grown that you don't want to listen, it's time for you to do what you do. It's time for you, like I told my 17-year-old, it's time for you to, hey buddy, mama ain't gonna put you out on the streets, but you got to get another job, and so you can get your own place. And I'm not signing for you. But here's the thing. We have to look at, like you said, the stepdads. Unfortunately, a lot of men come into the relationship and the moms give the men the gavel, and the men just want to push the sons out so they can mistreat the moms.
Well,
I've seen, I
Yeah.
have friends who have gone through that, and the moms allowed the men to push their sons out. When your son is literally just trying to protect you and say, hey, mama, like you said,
Yeah.
listen to your kids, listen to the pets. But the mom, her mindset, but that comes back to the confidence of the woman in herself. I always tell men, and I don't give very many dates, because I tell men, you are not allowed to step foot over my threshold. These are my son's house. The reason being, because I don't know your intentions. And I know how I raise my kids. And I know you might mean well by my kids. So if you want to have a say-so in their life, you're going to give us a place to stay. You're going to give us a place to live. You will not step foot over their threshold and think you're going to control something, because you're not. But in saying that, a lot of men are like, oh, you the kind that can't nobody say nothing to your kids. No, my sons have coaches. I've had a principal snatch my son up by his and put his finger all up in his face like he about to punch him. I'm not going to say nothing because he was wrong. You get what I'm saying? And I will protect that principle at all costs. But I'm not the kind that says, no, you cannot discipline my sons, because love is discipline. Discipline is showing them in the right way, not just whooping their behind. Because when Jesus discipled, he showed them what to do. You get what I'm saying? That's what disciples were. Discipleship is showing a person the right path. And so in that, I have no problem with a man disciplining my children, because he's going to walk the talk that he's telling them.
Right.
They're going to see it. I always tell people, children are audio and visual recorders.
Right. Hey, please share that again. I'm make sure I'm coming over here on the radio, because that was powerful. I grew up with surrogate fathers, if you would.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're stating there with the alignment of the walk and the talk, because sometimes a woman can feel like her hands are up in the air, especially if it's boys. What am I going to do here?
Yeah.
And so just, it is stated like that. Just have a talk with them.
Yeah, just,
you know what I'm saying? Just, impart some things on it. But it's more, when you impart, it's comprehensive. And that's what I heard. It's complete.
It's complete.
Whole.
You're showing them. You are showing them. And that's what I always tell people. Discipleship is showing them. It's living it. It's something that the kids can play back. Now, granted, some boys do need to be snatched up. Some boys do need to be disciplined. I have my oldest son, that boy, and he had a daddy. He was growing up in the house with it. It was not his birth dad, but it was my ex-husband who raised him since a toddler.
But see, when I say my aunties, my Aunt Barbara, for instance, is one. My mama, and I would see my mama go with my sister. My mama Gloria, all the women in my life, they would not be 30-something years old arguing with a 12 or 13-year-old person.
That is, you got to remember, and this is what I tell people. This is one thing. What the women were shown. Look at what comes on TV now. I cannot watch a bunch of these shows. I tell people I've never been the female type. I've never been the type of people like, oh, you can't trust you because you don't hang with a bunch of females. No, you can't trust me because I learned how to keep my hands to myself, because hanging with a bunch of females, you see women in evening gowns, no matter what race they are, tearing up expensive restaurants, beating each other up.
In the same show that they breaking their neck to watch, oh, girl, did you see Nene last night? But here's the thing. All the women in that show are all mentally disturbed and messed up.
No matter what race.
No
matter what race.
They all
because
messed up.
All of the housewives shows show you women who are going. Because why? Because they are being told that's the way to be. They are being told that's what gets you the attention. They are being told when you have a woman who's calm and who's not going to feed into that, then she gets written off the show, or she gets her buttons pushed until she snaps. And then all of a sudden she's the wrong one. And so that's what I'm saying is women have lost the sense of guidance. Yes, you find 30-something-year-old women arguing with 12-year-old girls. Yes, you find there's an instance where a woman ran around telling another woman's children that she was going to blank that woman up on sight.
Well, but like my mama said last week, it was a code that the women lived by back when they were growing up. Like, for instance, my mama said back in the days when they grew up, women didn't mess with other women's husbands.
Sure didn't.
And if you did that, the women might speak to you, but they kind of outcasted and distanced themselves from you. Now,
it's songs about it. I tell people it started with Whitney Houston's song. And I never forget, I was singing Saving All My Love for You by Whitney Houston. My mama I was driving down the street. I was tearing that because I love me some Whitney. And my mama piles, knocked all soul out of my body. And I had no clue why she did it. And then I got out and I listened to the words and I was like, and then Shirley Murdoch's As We Lay. You get what I'm saying?
And I love Shirley,
but you get what I'm saying? So it started being romanticized. And Lene is the type, I don't want nothing, I want nobody else. I tell people that all the time. I got a big old 6'4" dude from Brooklyn, and I'm gonna climb when I see him because I found out he was married because he lied to me. But and that irritates the deepest part of my soul because you said you were never married. And I couldn't find the truth until.
But when you say that, just like on Facebook, I don't call it Facebook. Remember how the streets and the streets were never allowed to know what was going on in your home?
Right.
Now you got these women that's quick to write, well, why do I have to be working all the time and I got this broke dude and I'm great? I mean, where did it
they chose that? And that's the thing.
But where did it just get so cool to advertise yourself, what you going through and your home situation amongst?
Now, I tell people this. I was going through a divorce. And if I didn't put stuff on Facebook, that's all I'm going to say. It wouldn't have been so nice when I was going through my divorce because my ex-husband was torturing me. So if I didn't put it on Facebook to where I held myself accountable and I wouldn't do nothing stupid, it wouldn't have turned out so nice. Now, talking about your business, that's because of the attention. The women want attention.
That and when attention a woman becomes puts mentally intoxicated.
When a woman puts something negative about a man on blast,
1,000 people,
1,000 other people jump in. And then when you decide to say, well, hey, sis, that's on you. You letting them do you like this. All of a sudden, that's why I quit commenting. Because I would get people just.
But nobody's going to say that. Because everybody that's talking bad about him are going through the same thing you going through.
Right.
That's a difference between a friend and a cosigner.
And even I don't even know the person. I'm like, hey, sis, you need to look inside of you. Why are you with this type of man? What about this? Why are you? But we live in a point the finger. Think about it. We had laws where it was illegal to mess with someone who was married. You could get sued and get your great grandchildren sued, and they would be paying the great grandchildren of the person who was married. They came in and stole all accountability from people. And so now there is no accountability. Like right now, you have people going through the court system for knocking somebody upside their head, and that person been just torturing them the entire time. A person can take so much, but the person who's doing the torturing, the bully, is the victim. No one has accountability. So when they removed accountability, which what can help people accountable is the word. You have a whole lot of people who sit up in church who don't know the Bible.
And you know why? Because they can't get out of church fast enough to get the peach tree or figure where they going to eat.
Hold on, they can't get out of church fast enough to go buy some weed. I literally see people pull up to someone's house, every single Sunday in droves, and I'm like, "You still got on church clothes? You still got on church clothes?"
But that's what I'm talking about. But those are the same people that when the choir is singing them songs, everybody's got the Kleenex, everybody's crying, and then as soon as it's over and everybody's walking out, and they get into the parking lot, everything that you learn is not even being put to use. The message is not being shared with the kids on the way home. I mean, how many of these children that we have now even know how to pray and say their grace?
But here's the thing. How many of the churches actually teach the Bible?
Well,
How many of them? Wait, I'm gonna ask this question. Bible study. How many Bible studies? Because see, now we're getting into what's going on with our relationships.
Mhm.
In Bible study, how many Bible studies do you get preached at, or how many of do you go through the Word Genesis to Revelation?
Well, because when you look at the church, the way a lot of the women are dressing in church, if
That
you
don't
sit
have
back,
nothing to do with the women.
no, but what I'm saying is the same thing with the pastor that's in there.
Uh-huh.
Because here's what's going to happen. Am I going to give you this filet mignon, or do you want these hot dogs? And so when you go to church and you get the hot dogs, the church is almost becoming like the house
It's
because nobody's holding nobody accountable.
like Martin Luther King said, he saw the day when the church was going to become a social club.
Mm.
So the church has become a social club for both men and women.
Mhm.
It's become a place to, it doesn't matter if you fully clothed or if you're walking in skimpy. Where is the word at in it? Where is the word? My
And
cousin
when
and
you
I were
come
having
in
a
skimpy,
conversation.
everybody's looking
My
at you.
cousin and I were having a conversation in one of the churches that we went to as a young person. It was a bunch of unhealthy marriages. And everyone who's our age, 35 and up, has been divorced. We saw nothing but unhealthy marriages.
Well, and we'll write that down to be a topic for next week's show, since it'll pretty much be the last one for this. But at the end of the day, it's substance.
Mhm.
And substance is what holds you all together. When you take the jobs away, cars, money, everything, and you all
Who
are
are
both
you?
standing there, what is going to help and hold you all together when the storm of life comes? Somebody got married this past weekend.
Mhm.
And in 2 years, because they have no substance,
Mhm.
the first time a major argument comes, they're going to walk off and they're going to be done.
Absolutely.
Now, my question to you, and we only got just a few minutes,
Mhm.
is grandma and grandpa back when we were coming up? We know grandpa wasn't the best.
Mhm.
We know grandpa had his corners and stuff that he bent.
Mhm.
Probably he even had another family
Yeah,
on the
that's
other
true.
side of town. But for some reason, those people really honored their bond to be with you until you get the dirt or I get the dirt. Now it's just F you, and we gone.
Because the thing about it is, and I was in a 17-year selfish marriage. And at some point in time, you have to understand grandpa was, yeah, he was with other women, but grandpa wasn't selfish. You get what I'm saying? It's one thing to be a cheater. It's a whole other thing to deal with a selfish man.
Well, we gonna end it on that. We will pick up, and I'll write that down, and that'll be the start of the conversation for next week, which has been our last week. And I graciously want to say thank you
You're
very
welcome. Thank
much
you.
for being a true sister, to be able to volunteer your time on a Monday to speak with us and give us your input. Of course, I got to say thank you for my brother, which is my wise counsel, my prayer. He knows what I'm going through right now. I know what he's going through, but I love him for the man and the character that he has. Thank Mr. Walker. Thank you, KUAW. And I just want to say what Jerry would say. You know, if you feel nobody else loves you, we love you. And if you got a partner shot, go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you for having me on y'all's show. I really appreciate it. I've really enjoyed this show. Everybody tune in. It's my show tomorrow at 7 here on 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Lene Gray Show. We're going to be doing a show on informed voting decisions. So, already.
All right, really fast. Hey, everyone, we do this for y'all. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week. Show you.